Thanks everybody for joining us. This is the November 24th meeting of the Community Connectivity Grant Committee. We are being recorded on WebEx or the YouTube channel for the whole line. And I do not see any public is here, so we'll move on to project updates. First, I guess I should say who's present. Frank Pappalardo, Bonnie Ream-Snyder, Eric Olson, and myself of the committee. Our project engineer, Kurt Procherena, will not be joining us today, and I don't see Jim Lampos from the committee or Tim Gersman. As for an update, thank you all for making your calls. I could not have done that without you guys, so we're making a lot of progress. So we'll go through those in a second. Just wanted to let you know that beginning of last week, Kurt and I had a conversation with Craig Babowitz of the DOT. And Kurt, as you may recall, had some questions for him. The conversation went very well. And Kurt informed him that, we planned on sending everything in to him pretty imminently as soon as the easement's done. We talked about the budget because I know Tim had some questions last time on the budget, and basically, as we've said, the DOT, once we had approval and we get the PAL, is going to just send us a check for us to manage our budget, and it is $400,000 as we're aware. And Bonnie, you had said a couple of meetings ago that if our budget shows us over, if the estimate shows us over, that's fine. You confirmed that if the bids don't come in to reduce that, that'll be the requirement of the town if we proceed. So it's just as you had said. I asked about retainage, and he said that's up to us. Basically, it's a municipal project. So how we spend that $400,000 is really up to us. And what we provide to them, their budget form, is our best estimate. And he said they're flexible. So I felt better about that. However, Kurt was suggesting that we include his BSC's amendment of the construction services during construction, which he sent to the town in October. And that has not been signed off yet. And I spoke briefly with Tim again about this last week, and he's leaning towards waiting until after we get a contractor on board, but I was hoping we could discuss that as a group. The more I thought about it, I'd really like to get that. The first 15,000, as you guys recall, he broke it up into 15,000 for construction services during the project and 15,000 for like the inspection services, the municipal requirements. I really would like to have that part of the budget, and then we take out that incidental cost. But so I may need your guys' thoughts on that to see if we can get that signed off. It's pretty straightforward.
Did you, excuse me, was there any indication of why Tim wanted to wait? Did he have a reason? Was there rationale behind that? I mean,
I think what he indicated to me briefly was what he indicated in a previous meeting with all of us, that his current agreement takes a BSC through selection of a contractor, and these services are outside that. So he felt to be more appropriate to have it signed off after. I think the way Kurt did it, which is amending his agreement, makes sense because we are amending his contract to allow for these services that we weren't aware about when we hired BSC to begin with. My only question to him is, can the contract be amended to allow this under our financial policies? And Tim told me, he goes, they're the best ones. They're really the only ones for this. and I don't disagree, but I just wanted to, I've been asking him to talk with Nicole, our finance person, to see if we're allowed to do this. And I'm still kind of in the gray zone there.
Well, I would imagine since it's an extension of the existing contract, it sounds like it would be appropriate to allow that extension of the existing contract rather than having, you're suggesting to have to go out to bid for this?
He doesn't, I asked him that. He does not want to go out to bid, but based on how much we've spent with a vendor in, the Board of Selectmen may have to vote to allow to amend the contract. And I'm not exactly sure. I don't think we've reached that magic number because he's only gotten 2 payments.
Well, it's certainly not unprecedented. I mean, the Board of Selectmen voted to extend the Woodward and Curran contract with a no bid. So then this would be a no-brainer, I would think.
Yeah, this is very common practice. The biggest question is the money in the budget? That is the biggest question for Nicole's office or for Board of Finance. Now, there's a question as to whether that can just be extended solely through the First Selectman's office or have the Board of Selectmen approve it. I would say have the Board of Selectmen approve it. But there's no question that it's common practice in contracts under the DOT, whether they're, very precise in their requirements or in this kind of a thing. The community connectivity grant is very much like the STEEP grant in that they really don't want to know a lot of details. They just, in the end, you just have to show you that you spent the money on what was allowed, and that you acknowledge the state. It's very simple. But if you recall, Mary Jo, when we did, maybe it wasn't the Hartford Avenue one, but there was another project that we did that we kept the same company that did the design for the inspection purposes. I think it was the Rogers Lake Dam. And it was, it's just common practice because you're going to save money using the same company. They don't have to familiarize themselves with the details of the plans. If you go out to bid, 1, you're wasting a lot of time. And 2, you're probably going to pay more because that company now has to understand the design and figure out how to give advice on it. So it's almost impractical to use a different company. It sounds to me like Tim is more concerned about the price than the actual logistics of, who's doing it and what their services are. It sounds like he wants to make sure that what we're paying for in the amended contract is not something that should have been included in the first contract. And that, I think that we have a good relationship with BSC and trust them to be living up to their ethics.
I agree. Of course, the services during construction are reimbursable too. That's that first 15 is reimbursable under the grant. So I would like to see that signed off on.
Yeah.
Maybe at our next meeting, we can really encourage at least, if you're going to sign the one, you might as well sign the other. And now the other 15,000 is not in the budget. So that may be something else to discuss, but certainly the original 15,000 is covered, is reimbursable under the connectivity grant.
Yeah. I guess the only reason you can't then amend the contract, because it will include the extra 15,000 that you're saying is not in the budget, you really can't sign a contract until the money is in the budget because you're committing funds for the town that are not available. So, Tim really needs to go to the Board of Finance and get them to approve
Right.
Funds and put it in our budget so that it's there. Because you can't sign anything unless it's.
Yeah, and the way they broke, that's how we split it out. One for services during construction that would be reimbursable. So that would be one discussion with the Board of Finance. And then the other amendment would be for, hello there. Sorry to interrupt. Hi, honey. Would be for municipal 15,000 on the municipal.
Yeah, but the 15,000 isn't in the budget, and I don't know if Kurt will allow you to amend the budget for just 15,000 and hold off on the extra 15.
He will. I asked him that.
Oh, well then talk him into it. He's fine.
Hi, sweetheart.
Did you say hi? Hi.
He's getting big, buddy. Oh, he's just so cute.
Yeah, he's getting so big.
Okay, well, that's where we're at on that part. Well, a little work to do there. The next thing is regarding the TRAs. We had a discussion also with our town attorney last Thursday, and the one family who's may not sign. I just nailing it down. Our town attorney thinks we should really try hard to get the TRA signed. I read this TRA, which he had approved, revised, and he is willing to give us some revised language that might meet with this family's preferences. And I have yet to see it, so I'm hoping that we can.
Is there a reason that they won't sign? What's in it that they are not happy about?
They are concerned that by signing this, they waive their rights to sue the town. And their issue is more of a pre-existing condition. And I was not successful in getting them to understand that this project doesn't have anything to do, or signing this TRA doesn't, they can still sue if they wanted to for some other reason.
For past issues.
Yeah, well, I think I made my point clear. I think we talked about this last week, that, we can only do so much. And if a particular property owner won't sign and has no valid reason other than some emotional reason, then that's it. Their part of the project comes out of the project package. That's it. Case closed. We can't do any more. We can't do any more. We can't go on their property, and we can't make them sign. So that's it. We just take it out of the package, and whatever has to be done on their property, they're responsible for.
I don't think it does. Does it say anywhere in the TRA that says, after this project is complete, you will not be able to sue the town for
yes.
Damages? It does say that specifically.
They hold us harmless.
It says after the aforementioned work has been completed, the owner shall save the town of Old Lyme harmless from any claims for damages. So he's going to provide some revised language that we might run by this family.
Okay.
So likely damages related to this project specifically, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So
what if they don't sign?
Yep.
Then it sounds to me like we do the work right up to the very edge and we do nothing to their property. So they may end up with their property being lower than the sidewalk because
That's-
we haven't been able to do it.
That's
And
correct.
so I would agree with Frank on that, except I would make it very clear, we accept that they're not signing the TRA after the effort. I agree we should try, adjusting the language. But if they're still
Yep.
not willing to sign, I think we make it very clear that we will, not enter their property, and they may have something that, their property may be not level with the sidewalk,
It won't.
and
be.
that we're not, yeah.
And I did have that discussion. I basically said you'll have a drop off. And so as Frank alluded to, the next step would be a letter documenting this.
Excuse me for a minute. I'm listening.
Sure. The other thing that came up while talking with our attorney had some concerns that we would be leaving their property in really an untenable state.
Yeah, but if they don't give us permission, what is the town supposed to do? I mean, right? I mean, we're not supposed to do now sidewalks because they don't want to, play.
They can't hold up an entire public works project because they don't particularly want the sign, and because their property is going to be a problem child. I mean, there's got to be a legal way of either saying sign or we're not touching your property and that's it, done. We've done everything we can do. We've met with you 3 times. We've adjusted the language. We've had the engineer come out and talk with you. That's it.
Yeah, and I think Kurt understands that's where the majority of our committee is at. That we're doing what we can to meet them more than halfway, and hopefully after they think about it, they'll come around. But the only other suggestion, according to Kurt, would be to consider a design change for their driveway. Which
Absolutely not.
Let me finish, Frank. I know. But basically what he said was you would pull out the soil. As you know, they just have a compacted soil driveway, and you'd put in layers of stone to absorb the groundwater that's causing their issue. And then put the, the plastic turf that we were going to put in anyway on their driveway, and that would absorb most of the water and would probably resolve their problem. Actually, he said it would resolve their problem.
But that doesn't account for the slope issue, and I think the slope issue is the problem.
But and address the slope issue at the same time. Do the whole thing.
That's why we have to get on their property to deal with the slope issue. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
The slope issue is part of that would be we were going to put the reinforced turf, as you know, at the bottom of their driveway.
Yeah.
So this would be going further with the reinforced turf, as well as putting absorbent materials, like, certain feet down to absorb the groundwater.
I'm not in favor of it. I'm not in favor of revising the whole project because of this. I mean, we're doing, I think, what's reasonable and practical. And, I just can't see revising the entire project or that portion of the project because of this. It's going to cost us more money at Kurt's time and probably cost more money for the project.
But I asked Kurt for just a rough estimate. And the other thing is, we need to be fair to all the homeowners. They get a new driveway out of this deal. I'm not sure if I was their neighbor, how I'd feel about that. So, again, that's where we're at on that. I'm hoping that this revised language will be acceptable.
I worry about the revised language setting precedent too. So, if the lawyer feels comfortable with it, I guess I'd be fine with it too. But like you said, I mean, we have a number of other people that have looked at it, agreed to it. It hasn't been a problem. They've had some questions. We've resolved the problems. And, now we're going to revise language and so on and so forth.
I know that it seems like this family is being stubborn, but I also am cognizant of the fact that this is something that they've complained about for some time. I don't know if the problem they have was in fact caused by the paving of the road back in whenever. I think it was late 2009, 10, whatever. But I think that we at least have to be sensitive to the fact that they have been complaining about this for a while. And at the very least, if we do our due diligence and find out what that extra would cost from Kurt, then we can make a decision based on that. And if we at least look at the language and then make a decision based on that, revising the language, then we can honestly say we went down every path and considered everything. I don't want to negate it just out of the box because, I have heard this complaint for so long. And quite frankly, I just don't know if it was there before or not. The road was paved before my time in the first selectman's office. So I just am not familiar with what it was before it was paved and after it was paved. But if in fact the town did pave it, because remember that was just done by Public Works. I don't believe it was a design when they paved the road. Now we go down there and, we've got a professional engineering company that's saying if we do this, it's going to impact people on the side in this way. That's why we got into temporary rights agreements, So, I want to be fair, but fair to everyone. So I
can't disagree with that. I can't disagree with that. But, we should get the facts. We should get all the facts in play and then make a decision.
And then make a decision. Yeah.
Yep. So that's.
I'm leaning towards, there's only so much we can do. So
There is. I agree with you.
Absolutely. We don't disagree. I don't disagree. I'm just sharing with you what's come up over the last week. And I really thought it was fair to, since our attorney felt it was important that we address that, we get his verbiage and try and reach a happy median on this. And, they'll go from there. Now their neighbor, on the other hand, he's the one that has the fence. Frank and I talked about this, and I did get a hold of them, and he is going to send in a picture of what he's looking at for, Frank, and it sounds like exactly how you understood it. This property owner looked at the fence options that BSC proposed and would like a version where the slats are all integrated. And so, and he wants a white fence. So he's going to try and get me a picture, a link, so we can send that to BSC and get an estimate. He's offered to pay any delta between what BSC was proposing and what this might be. And maybe it's not that much. I really don't know at this point. But he's great. And Frank gave us a contact for them for Connecticut Water, and I provided that too. So thank you, Frank. Let's see. The Port Lances, I guess I'm going to get our difficult ones done first. The Port Lances, according to Tim last week, he's had discussions with them, and wasn't sure if we needed to do anything regarding the fence in a formal way, but the town attorney said we do. And so still waiting on some language for the town attorney for the fence. That, as you guys recall, is about a foot on one end on our property. The AWAs, after unsuccessful, at least 10 phone numbers, I dropped off a note at their house. And the next day he called me and he verbally agreed to everything and said he'd drop off the TRA. He had it in front of him, but to date, we haven't seen it. So, who wants to go next?
Those TRAs are always difficult to actually get in hand, aren't they?
Ugh, you said it.
I know.
Well, I made the call to Cole and to Messino, and
Yeah.
Messino called me back and said, "Oh, I thought that was just a duplicate, so I threw it out well, for the version 2." But he got he found it and emailed it and scanned it and emailed it, and he's putting it in the mail. And Cole just said, just stopped at the town hall and signed it right there. So we got those 2 out of the way.
Nice. Thank you. Bonnie, I know, had number 9 and number 11.
Yeah. And one, I believe I was successful. I did have the question mark in my mind whether, the gentleman I spoke to for this elderly woman said he's executor. Usually it's power of attorney. So I guess,
Right.
we'll see what documentation he gives, but he was fine about everything. So didn't have a problem. The second one that I was supposed to call, I'm waiting for a call back. I did see the updated information, maybe for another address and another number, and I'll try that number again.
Great. And then Eric, you had.
Yeah, so I had, well, the one was the one with the fence that you dealt with and I dealt with. So that one was basically taken care of. The other one, as we found out, the owner passed away at the end of October. The other name listed, I believe she's the woman that joined us back in August. I remember a woman joining us up at the top of Hartford Avenue. We were talking to like number 9 or 11. And she said she hadn't signed up, but it was her mother's house. And so I think that might have been her. But again, I couldn't find any information. I Googled on that particular name. Sometimes it came up to a South Carolina address. It also came back to the same address in Windsor that we have for the owner. So, but no phone number that I could track down. So I think we're just going to have to send another letter to that Windsor address with maybe to her attention as the trustee, I think is what she was listed as.
Okay.
And see what happens. I don't know any other way of getting a phone number for them, because the number that we had listed when I did call it, it said it was no longer in service.
Okay. I'll take that out. That's a shame. I did mention that to the town attorney, and that we were having some trouble with a couple of these folks who are trustees, and he said, well, maybe their firm has some information on it. So I gave him that name. I haven't heard back.
Yeah, the name that's listed as a trustee, she's the daughter of of the person that passed away. That's what it listed to her in the obituary.
Oh.
So she's not. So she is the daughter. She probably is the trustee for the estate, or however the house was set up in trust, or who knows exactly what. But
Okay.
She's not their attorney. She's the actual daughter.
Okay. Again, luckily that particular property isn't really a problem for us, whereas the ones south of that are more tricky.
Yeah. Maybe we just follow up with a second letter that states we need it. And if we don't hear from them, we're not going to be able to do the work. But
Right.
I'm
Right.
assuming it probably got lost in the shuffle of everything that they were going through.
Probably, because that was right about the time that she passed away.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Then I think that brings us all up to date. So we're making some progress. stay tuned. DSC did complete the Easy Mart access easement work and sent it to our town attorney last week. The attorney suggested we have a title search done. He asked Tim said he'd look into that, to have that done, so we make sure we know who the ownership are of that property are. That's been a little bit vague. So I was hoping to hear on that one, but I'll have to ask Tim if he's had any luck on that. So we need to, obviously we need that piece in place before we can submit to the DOT. That's all I have on the project update. Does anyone else have any comments?
No.
Okay. Moving on to approval of minutes of November 13th. Any discussion? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Frank. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Connie, you weren't there.
Oh, I'll abstain.
Okay.
Sorry.
Not a problem. Thank you. Okay, our next meeting at this point is December 8th at 4 p.m. And then if you guys wouldn't mind, I'd like to have a motion to set regular meetings from January to next June. We talked about the second Tuesday of the month at 4 p.m. Jim had indicated he'd try and make as many as he could. So if anybody else has any preference, if not, I will take a motion and I'll submit this to the town.
Well, I have a project meeting every Tuesday at 2:30. So, there's some dates I might be late to it, but I'll be here.
Great.
Okay, I'll make a motion to our meeting starting in January through June to be the second Tuesday of the month at 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Eric.
Second.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No abstentions, no nays. Then the only thing I have left is an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn. I beat you to that, Bonnie.
Frank and
Second.
seconded by Bonnie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving.
I thought if it's okay with you, I'll send a card to Kurt from all of us.
I think
Yeah,
that's
that
a
would
great
be
idea.
great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. Thanks,
Stay
guys.
healthy and safe.
All right, be
You
safe.
guys too. Give that baby a hug.
I will. Bye.
Bye now.